Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Flora. Great introduction. I appreciate the wonderful introduction. Yes, we were friends before I became a member of the club, and it's a friendship that I definitely treasure. We've served together on the leadership level, I think as area directors together. That's how we met. And she was very supportive when we hosted the district conference here in Fresno. She helped us make that a very successful conference, which helped our friendship grow, grow, grow. So when she offered me the opportunity to be a part of a club she was a part of, I jumped at it. It's just so wonderful to be among friends, and I think I met some new friends through being a part of this. Today, I'm going to talk about the roles and responsibility of the secretary. One of the things that about the secretary is always not taken as seriously. People don't look at it seriously. People always consider the president's job the most hardest job. One of the biggest, hardest, and the most labor-intensive job is the role of the secretary. The secretary can make and break a club, even though we don't see that because a lot of times when things go bad, the finger always points at the president. But a lot of times the secretary has those keys to make a successful club. Of those of you who've been a part of Toastmaster leadership in a club, there's two officers that's very important that you must have in a Toastmaster club, and that's the president and the secretary. And they can't have the same position, should not be occupied by the same person. And I'm going to go over and explain to you a little bit why that's so important. The objective is I'm going to identify the role of the secretary and fulfill the responsibilities of the secretary, and also go over some resources that can help you as a secretary. The club secretary, can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yes. Yes.
For some reason, hold on, for some reason it's hiding, this picture hiding. Give me a second. It's, never mind. I'll try to do, hold on, let me see if I can move this. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I apologize. Gotta move this. Okay, the club secretary's responsibilities is 1, to maintain all club records, 2, manage club files, 3, handle club correspondence, and number 4, take the minutes. These are very important. And why are they important? Because it's very important that club members know what's going on at all levels of Toastmasters. So it's so important when emails go out to the secretary and the leadership of the club that those correspondence is shared with each member. And also taking the minutes is so crucial. As everybody knows, the minutes can be subpoenaed at any time. It's a court document, it's a legal document, and it can be subpoenaed at any time. So it's always important to make sure at every meeting that there's minutes being taken. I'm going to cover some of the responsibilities that the secretary should take care of before the club meetings, during club meetings, outside of the club meetings, and during the executive committee meetings. First, they should always post a meeting, post the minutes of the previous meeting online. Kate Bender, the Vice President of Public Relations, a couple of weeks ago, went over the website where once the meeting's over, where we can upload the minutes into the website. Now, as a secretary, what I do is I make sure I not only upload it, I send it out to every member, whether you're at the meeting or not. And I try to do it the day of the meeting or within 2 days. And why I do that is because it's fresh in all of our minds. And it gives you the opportunity to look at the minutes before I upload it to see if I made a mistake or if there's some corrections that need to be done. So it's so important that we do that, that we also send it to members that wasn't at the meeting to make sure they know what's going on at the meetings and encourage them to be at the next meeting. Next, prepare for the president a list of actions to be taken during the business meetings. Yeah, this is so important because we don't go to meetings just to go to meetings. The president has to have an agenda. And one of the things is you don't ever want to leave out an action that any member brought before the executive committee. So it's so important. The president can't remember everything, and that's what the secretary is there for, to take the notes and the minutes. And right before any meeting, the secretary sends those action items to the president to make sure before she goes into the next week's meeting that either she has an answer or give you guys some kind of reason why she don't have that answer. Because of anybody and everybody in the club is important, and what you contribute is important. And we don't ever want to let you know that what you bring to us isn't important. Next, update club officers list. And it's always important when someone is voted out or somebody quits, it's always important to go in and let Toastmasters International know that that person is no longer there so that they will not be getting correspondence. For example, if the president resigns and someone else is the president and Toastmasters International was never notified, that person that resigned will be still receiving correspondence from Toastmasters International regarding club business that we would not know what's going on. So it's always crucial for the secretary to update the club officer list very timely. Let's talk about during the meetings. During the meetings, the club secretary should always take attendance and also read the minutes of the previous meeting, because we have to approve those. We also have to approve minutes. The minutes are not accepted until they're approved by the members. So we need to make sure they are read at the beginning of each meeting. Outside of the club meetings, the secretary should schedule club executive meetings. Those are important. They need to make sure, and what I always recommended, that they do it consistently. For example, if we're going to have a club meeting, we should do every once a month. We pick a day and a time and be consistent with that each month. Because what happens is when we start scattering around, people are busy and they have other things scheduled and they're not there. If they know in advance when the meeting is going to be, if they need to miss, they can let somebody know in advance and send their reports to somebody else to read out. So it's always important that those meetings be scheduled and reminders are sent out by the secretary. Second, maintain club's membership contact information. And that's always important just in case an emergency comes up and she needs to get a hold of all the members. The secretary should have that information to send out. A meeting's going to be canceled or something's going to happen, so that you're not attending a meeting that's not going to happen. Next, maintain minutes of clubs, executive committee meetings, club and executive committee meetings. Next, maintain executive committee meeting action items. We kind of went over that. She would always maintain those just in case an issue comes up, that the same action item comes up again. The secretary would already know that we already answered that. We already looked into that action item, and this is, and I'll let them know what the response was and the day the response was given. Next, maintain records of voting during the executive meetings and member inductions. It's always important to keep track of when we're voting for something, because sometimes, again, especially when it's involving money, we definitely need to know we definitely had a majority and it was approved and the date it was approved. And also doing member inductions. Why is that important? Because a lot of times things happen in clubs where people are just not a match for that club, and they're violating some of the covenants that Toastmasters International has. And the way and the word of thumb is, if you didn't vote that person in, you can't vote them out. So a lot of times we have to look at it when that person's voted in. If it comes to the point where they're not living up to the standards of Toastmasters, we have to get rid of them. We have the date, and a lot of times these are one of the things that when you're elevating the issue up to the area directors and division directors and Toastmasters International, many times they're going to ask you for the minutes, because it's your word against another person's word, and in the middle there's a germ of truth. And that's why they're going to ask, well, let me see if it's in the minutes. If it's in the minutes that happened, we have to stand by that. And a lot of times they will make a decision on siding with you. And a lot of times, if there's no minutes there and they don't have any documentation that shows that a certain action took place, a lot of times they normally get stagnant, and it kind of gets other members disheartened. So it's always important that we have those minutes. And also the secretary will attend club executive committee meetings. What the executive committee meeting consists of. What the secretary will be doing is they will read the previous meeting minutes. They will note any amendments, and they will record current meeting minutes. During the executive meeting, there should always be an agenda. A lot of times the secretary prepares the agenda. As a president, I always prepared my own agenda, but normally it's the responsibility of the secretary to prepare the agenda for all meetings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a sample that I got from Toastmasters International on what an agenda should look like for the executive committee. A lot of times secretaries don't know how to do one. Even some presidents don't know how to put an agenda together. And most people know by Toastmaster standards and club standards, we always have a timer. So we always go by time. There should always be time limits on speaking at an executive meeting. You always want the meeting to start on time and end on time. So on the agenda, we always put the time on how long is allocated for each speaker. Between 7, for an example, between 7 and 7:05, the meeting is called to order, and then the president makes a few comments. Then from 7:05 to 7:15, the secretary reads the minutes from the previous meeting, and a formal vote to approve those minutes is taken. Between 7:15 and 7:45, the officer committee start giving their report. And the report is always done in reverse order. Normally we do things where the president, the vice president of education, but when you're given a report at an executive meeting, it's done in reverse order. The sergeant of arms will report out first, then the treasurer, then the secretary, then the vice president of PR, then the vice president of membership, then the vice president of education, and then the president will report off if they have anything to report out. Then from 7:45 to 8:15, we start with any unfinished business. If we have any unfinished items that we didn't finish at our last meeting, they become unfinished business items, and we always take care of those items first. Then we go on to our new business items, and then any announcement or closing thoughts, and then we try to adjourn the meeting on time. So if any assistance is needed and anyone want to learn about what it takes to be the secretary, here are some resources that you can go to and look it up. Toastmasters have great information on the role of the secretary and the importance of the secretary's job. Anybody have any questions? And thank you. Toastmaster.